Hey, good morning and welcome to Podcast from the Pit. I'm Casey,
I'm Eric.
and with us are two guys that really helped make our Joe Fest experience what it was. Two of the nicest people I've met, fun to be around. If you would go ahead and introduce yourselves, we'll start with Hans.
Morning, I'm Hans Chow. Glad to be here. Thank you for having me. Watch you guys all the time, but it's the first time I actually get a chance to be on.
Yeah, we appreciate it.
Yeah.
And also,
Matthew Comstock, Sportsman 007. Thanks for having me. Long time listener, first time caller.
Thanks for being
yeah,
here.
we've been talking about this ever since Joe Fest. We're like, man, we got a good group of people we're friends with. Let's bring them on a couple at a time, because I don't want this to be, I see them once a year. I mean, you guys are great. I would consider you guys, I know we only talk online and see each other once a year, but you guys are our friends. So,
thank you.
we want to stay more in contact with you.
I'm just glad Hans didn't blow the door off the hinges this round.
So you invited me in this time. I need to kick anything off anything.
Yeah. Morning, Talking Joe.
Chat. We have Hello Talking Joe. Ronnie Trickshot, how are you?
What's up, Ronnie?
Shark Eyes, how you doing, Adam?
Morning.
So I know everything looks different for me today. I am at Kentuckiana, which is basically it's a Saturday show with a Friday preview. Get in early, get some stuff. It's awesome. It's like 1/10 the size of Joe Fest, so it's more laid back, and you still see a lot of the same really cool people you see at Joe Fest. So, anything Joe's, Order Battle, hung out with them last night for a little bit. Scuba Pete. Hoping more people show up today because last night was just a preview. I was hoping Matt would be on today because he got some good stuff last night.
Yes, he did. He sent me pictures last night. And I was drooling all over the phone.
Yes.
It was insane.
Sounds dangerous.
Turned into murder.
I did pick up a despoiler. I did not have a despoiler to put on my demon. Now I do.
Nice.
But hopefully I'll get some cool stuff today.
Yeah, Gary Vee just dropped a nice little podcast about that.
Yeah.
Yeah,
it was really good.
It's pretty cool. Pretty cool.
Yep. I will see you in an hour or so.
Hey, Rex Ship, what's going on?
Doggy. That's rough.
Yeah.
That's also a rough, but
Why am I not surprised by that comment though?
Right.
Anyway.
She's 100%. Except whenever she tried to eat Casey.
She's a good dog. Have you guys got anything in since Joe Fest? Or is everybody on like a buying freeze for spending too much money at Joe Fest?
I got a pair of Baroness arms because the Baroness I bought at Joe Fest. This is also gonna sound dodgy, but in her left arm, when I opened so I bought one from a very nice lady for a very good price. It was $20, and she was complete. I was like, oh great, that's a very cheap Baroness, and it was in good condition, nice chest print, good paint details, so no problem, $20, bam. So I got her and I brought her home, and I didn't, because everything is such a rush. I don't open or check everything. until I actually reach, which is probably not a good policy. I don't advise that. So when I arrived home after the flight and whatnot, it took like 2-3 days. So I didn't check them until the Wednesday when I opened the package. She looked great, but there was like a weird kind of gunk like on her right arm. I don't know, man. This Joe Fest was a real gunky Joe Fest for me. And there was some by her waist as well. But I forget to myself that these are 40-year-old toys. So if you play with them a little bit and you try to force it out, you're going to break something. So sure enough, I broke the shoulder. Tried to force it up, pop, snapped. I kept it because, for posterity. So I had to, of course, immediately buy a new pair of arms. And I actually posted that on Instagram last night that the surgery was successful. You know what? I actually took a little bit of time and some soap and I actually cleaned the gunk out. I don't know what it was. Like motor oil or something. I also replaced the screws in her legs because they were all rusty. But then again, I'm kind of new at this Joe Fest thing, so I don't check these things. I just say I get excited because I don't see it.
Right.
And, and I see a price, I take it.
Yeah, I still do that. I see something I think's a good deal. I'm like, oh, I'll take it.
Yeah, I think it's like a little bit of the FOMO too, because you might find something that you're really looking for and you're so excited you just want to grab it. And kind of like that AVAC you talked me into Saturday night. Thankfully, it's in really good shape. But I just saw it and I was like, I almost said, "Shut up and take my money," but I was like, "No, please, just be quiet and take my money."
But he was good, right? He was in good condition, though, wasn't he?
Yeah. Well, that was the one that, if you remember, the guy said like his wife did all the pricing.
Yeah.
So, yeah. So I needed to give her the $70 before he changed his mind. So that worked out. So now I have a complete Terradrome for $470.
That's a good deal.
That's my flex of the day.
Yeah, it's a strong flex because I seen at Winterfest in January a beater for $1,200.
Yeah, no, I just listened to that show not that long ago. And I'm just like, wow, do I tell Casey I picked up one that was almost complete and in great condition for $400 last year?
I got mine for $400 and it is complete and it is nothing broke, so I can't complain.
Yeah. That was my first purchase at Joe Fest last year. I just came out of the gate and just went, yeah, $400, I can do that. I don't know how I'm gonna get it in my car and drive it back to Virginia, but I'll do it.
Yeah,
I
always say that's future problem.
Still remember that you might just carry a Terradrome, and he's like, "I just bought a Terradrome," and me and guys were like, "He just bought a Terradrome."
Yeah, it was a good thing I got the room with 2 beds because that way it could have its own bed.
Right.
That's actually the Terradrome is so. I was talking to another guy once, and he just said, a lot of people say the word Grails with an S at the end, and they're, so with Transformers they have a Grail, and for G.I. Joe have a Grail. But it doesn't make any sense, right? The truth is you're only really supposed to have one Grail because it's supposed to be one unique thing, and the Terradrome has been my Grail since I was really young. I saw one in a toy store when I was about 9 or 10 years old. And I was like, wow, I want to get that. And then I of course I never did, but and here I am a million years later. And I'm just kind of like, yeah, still one day, not today, but one day. Because
there was a show here.
Go ahead. No.
There's a show here that a guy messaged me and said, "Hey, there's a Terradrome here. It has a fire bat, the AVAC, parachute, and he's wanting $100 for it."
It was a Lego one that he made.
Yeah, it was a real deal.
It's the Creo Terradrome.
Yeah, and bad thing about it is I would have brought that rascal home if I was at the show.
I mean, that's half the fun about, the hobby is just right place, right time, get that deal that you think's good. Like when I picked up my Terradrome, that's been about 4 years ago, and I still see the dealer that I got it from at shows, and he's always like, "I should have never sold you that." And he threw in an eel.
You could sell it back to him for 1,200. You know, just if you want to turn a profit, just well, you can have it back for 1,002.
Yeah, I love my Terradrome. I always said that and the flag were my two wells, my two grails.
Yeah,
I'm like, I know there's two. I was like, I gotta have both of them. I have both. And getting the flag home from Tennessee was sketchy because I have a small car with like no trunk space.
Yeah.
Well, you have a certain hillbilly friend that has a truck. that would have driven it right back to West Virginia.
It is in its forever home.
See what Rexship just said there, right there. I kind of agree with, like, because if I can't get that big Terradrome, you know, the standard one, I think the Creo one is a nice. Because I've taken looks at it and seen reviews, and it's actually tastefully done, which I think is cool. But it's so about the flag. I don't own one, obviously, and maybe this is just the concept that, you know, or at least my coping mechanism for thinking I'll never own one. But I drew up plans on how to build one out of wood. And I think I could do a pretty decent job once I actually get, because once again, it's a space issue with the flag. You know, the Terradrome can neatly fit somewhere on a table, but the flag to me has always been the table almost. So I drew up plans on how to build one. And as soon as my wife turns her back, I'm going to build a flag out of wood. And, you know, when she comes back, she'll be hopefully impressed by my new coffee table.
Yeah.
But I don't drink coffee, so I'll just put a Sky Striker on it.
And if you build it to the right scale, you can put several Sky Strikers on it.
Yeah.
I've seen one guy do that. He built one to the proper scale of it, and it's about half of his basement almost.
Right.
He's the only guy I've seen do that. But it's one of those moments where you kind of realize that you're kind of a Joe fan. Like, he's a real Joe fan, you know what I mean? He's invested time and sweat and blood and finance. You've only invested like time and maybe some money situation, you know, but bless people like that. They give us things to kind of work for and move towards, you know?
And plus, it's so awesome to see. I mean, that space is his problem now, not ours.
Exactly.
It's good.
we get the eye candy situation.
Yeah.
I like how Shark Eyes is like, he's talking about the space hogger while also like flexing that he does all of his reviews on the flag that he owns, you know, which is a good use of space. You know?
Yes, definitely.
And I agree. You see, Kiwi and I are on the same page. We just, you know, we build our own. You know?
That would be cool.
As soon as the wives give us permission. Actually, in the design I have, so it's a fairly large design, but the bottom part of the flag that I have is actually on rails. At least it's designed to be on rails. So when I pull it out, it's like a drawer. So it has an interior, but it's like a drawer that goes in and out. It would be fantastic to actually see that toy. It's quite clever, if I do say so myself. But once again, space, you know.
Yeah.
it's
low key flex.
It's a low key. There you go. It's a low key flex.
So whenever Hasbro does the flag for the classified series, that's probably what they're going to do, is have it slide out.
It's if anybody's ever seen the G.I. Joe Resolute flag, because they were planning on relaunching a flag. If you go and you look it up, you could type in like G.I. Joe toys never produced Resolute flag. That flag was an exceptional design that they had produced. And I would have been all on board for buying that because it's the same concept. It folds out. So it's smaller to store, but it still has the same surface area and arguably more play area. One of my things that I've always enjoyed, one of the things and aspects about most toys, is anything that starts small and folds out and gives space. So the MCV, for example, those are like, you know, that's Those are fantastic toys because that's a huge aspect to play that we're losing a lot with a lot of current toys. Like for some reason, the only time I see it is in Imaginext and Polly Pocket. You know, those are like the two toys I see that fold out into bigger things, and I wish it was embraced a little bit more with other toys.
It's a tackle box on wheels, is all it is.
It is a tackle box on wheels, but it's a fun tackle box. You know, it's the subtle I don't know what it is with kids, but I've watched my kids play as well, and the nooks and crannies aspect of toys are being lost a lot. So the secret hinges, the secret rooms, the doors, the removable panels, they're losing a lot of that. And I wish that they wouldn't. Imaginext still embraces it. And I wish more toy companies would kind of, hang on to that. I saw it a lot in Mission Fleet as well for Star Wars. But I hope they never forget that. And on the note of like toys and classified, I think the one thing that I'd see them producing, and I'd like to see as well, is the original 86 HQ. Like I think that in classified scale, and they're doing the vamp and stuff like that. So if each section is a little bit bigger than the vamp, and they sell each section for about $150 a piece, I'd buy that. I'd buy that. I'd buy that. Well, I'll just leave it at that. Cut it up like
when I first got back into collecting toys, I just started with Joe because Joe was my childhood favorite, and I got into watching YouTube shows, listening to podcasts, and everybody's talking about space as an issue. And at the time, I've only got, I thought I was doing good. I had my Tomahawk and about 20 figures, and I'm like, in this big room. Like, it's not going to be an issue. Now, fast forward 5 years later, I have to make rough decisions like, I'm going to take my flag down for a little bit, put up my Eternia playset. I got an idea how I'm going to do my flag after this. And space is a killer.
Matt's actually got you keep seeing pictures. You have like a room kind of designated, and you're actually working your space really well because even though you in my opinion, you have a lot of space. You're still being very smart with what you put up, which I think that's a level of foresight a lot of us don't have.
That's nowhere near finished yet, though. So, because I keep saying, how many weekends have you heard me say, "Oh yeah, I'm going to go to IKEA," which is like 5 minutes from my house, and I'm like, "All right, I'm going to go figure out like what I need to finish that off."
But there's an investment in that though, not only in time but finance. But the point is you have a designated space.
But that's not a problem though. I've had the money. This is embarrassing. I've been at this for almost, Hans, if you remember, like I've been at this restoration project since October of 21.
Yeah.
And it's like I've got all the vehicles cleaned up. I just bought the decals from Toy Hacks not that long ago. That was way more than I was expecting it to be, but it is what it is. Right. But that I mean, at least I've taken the measurements and can figure out what can fit in there. But
those decals,
I'll get it done when I get it done.
Exactly. Right. But it's not a race, right? It's supposed to be fun. But
I guess it's just because I see all these other people that have cool Joe rooms, and I'm like, I want that, and I want it now. Right. But it takes time to get there.
Can you imagine a 1/12 scale flag being 91 foot long?
Well,
and there's probably people out there saying, "That's
that makes sense.
Let's do this." Yeah,
I could even imagine it.
I think if they would do that, I'm going to throw a gauntlet down for a challenge for everybody that we float it to Hans.
For what? you could write it to me. I think it's almost as big as some boats. 91 feet.
Right. That's crazy.
There's someone out there right now, as we're speaking, building a 91-foot classified flag. We know this. There's those people.
Their 3D printers just smoking it.
I was looking at that.
Who's gonna draw that short straw?
Right.
Hey, you know what? It should be Scuba Pete because he's the one that started the flag pool idea to begin with.
Yeah. And, it did float.
Yeah.
That would be the whole pool. I don't know if you could fit people in after. It would be, because
complete displacement of the water.
The width is what we're now looking at.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Who did the calculation? Rex Ship, do the width. How widthy would it be?
Well, and it's like a 7.5 foot long, and it's 3.5 wide at its widest, I believe.
So it'd be about 12 feet wide.
No,
it'd be longer.
It'd be longer. It'd be 30 something, right?
Yeah, it'd be 30 something feet wide. How long is the pool? Why are we working this logistic? We know it's not gonna happen. This is
somebody's thinking about doing it.
Yeah, us apparently. No.
Matthew's thinking about it.
No, I'm just thinking about how many helicopters is it going to take to lower that into the pool?
Yeah.
And is it actually going to fit, or is it going to like hang over the sides completely? Or is it going to be so long it's not actually going to go in the pool?
Yeah. We don't have to worry about floating then. It'll just be on the sides.
From what?
It didn't sink.
From what I'm led to believe, making things like that float. I mean, if it's made of wood, that would be very heavy. 91 feet of wood sounds like anyway, whatever.
Yeah, this is a family show, Hans.
That's true. It's a family show. But yeah, no, it on classified news apparently we're getting a rattler ?
That's what I'm hearing. I don't know if it's 100% confirmed, but I'm hearing rattler, which I don't do classified, but I mean, a rattler would look good.
Yeah.
And I would be tempted to try to get a wild weasel because he's one of my favorite characters.
I think they're saying the classified dragonfly is 3 feet long, like from nose.
Yeah, I think so.
How big is a rattler going to be? I mean, 3 feet.
I would have to think 3 foot wide, right?
Yeah, 3 feet wide, and at least 3 feet long. Otherwise, it'll look weird.
Yeah.
Not even the Cobra mothership was 32 inches wide.
Yeah. And that's another one of those things that kind of is like the Terradrome. You put it down. I don't think people will be flying their mothership around the house. I mean, bless them if they do. But so you imagine, so that's the way. And I don't think I've had this conversation with anybody. But where's the line drawn between toy and collectible? It's not a price point, obviously here, because here we are. What is it? What makes up? What defines that? Because a rattler at 3 by 3 feet, you can't that around the place. I mean, I saw the box that Matt had for the snow speeder, the Black Series snow speeder, and I don't imagine that's easy to whoosh.
The one that nobody bought.
Well, you brought it so that I could see it, so that we could have this conversation right now.
I brought it so I wouldn't have to come back home with it. But anyway, we all see how that worked out.
See, Sockeye said it as well. He's on the fence about it, and I don't know how much. So, we know how much the vamp costs. We know how much the Tomahawk costs. If it costs that much, and we know people are willing to put out for it, I mean, wow. It would be big. Yeah, 21 feet wide.
Yeah,
there it
is. I'm with Campbell. What he just said. I gave up classified because I was able to save so much of my stuff, and I just don't have room for both.
Right.
I think like the classified is awesome. Don't get me wrong. And if it keeps the brand out there. Especially the A-Raw part of the brand out there, then I'm all for it. But Hey,
Good morning,
Ken.
Ken.
Thank
Morning,
you.
Ken. 5
Morning,
a.m.
Yeah.
Ooh,
Yeah.
thank you for getting up early.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just I don't have room to do both. And I think a lot of people don't have room to do both either.
So with regards to what you just said, so I thought I did when it was like, I think classified, when we had that talk, classified was maybe 15 figures, 20 figures, maybe.
Right.
And now it's expanded out into like 50 something figure. No, it's not. What's the number? 200? What have they reached on the site?
No, we're in like are we in the 120s now?
I think 130s, 140s.
Yeah.
Okay.
Because you got to count the HasLab stuff because that goes into orders.
Yeah. So we're at 120 120 figures and maybe about 6 or 7 vehicles. So Rexship says it right there. 150. Rexship is on the ball. He's the numbers man. He's got the 91-foot flag. 21 might think he could. Man, you've been awake for a while. I like that. Razor.
Well, he's here too. He's going to be at the show.
Oh, he is. Oh, shake his hand for me. Cool.
Will.
So it's 120 figures plus about 7 or 8 vehicles, and the vehicles are not small. Thank you, Casey, by the way. He's responsible for getting me my HasLab hiss. And if it wouldn't be him, it would have been Mac. So one way or another, right? One way or
Happy
another.
to do it. Yep.
Thank you very much. But
but you got to remember, though, I was the one that told you that I heard Casey tell somebody that he wanted to get rid of his. So I was So I have to be thankful for Matt telling Chad, who told Casey and gave me the introduction. It was Chad. You're right.
I'll always be thankful for Chad for giving me the hookup for Jake with Casey, and the rest is history. But as I said, 7 vehicles, and the vehicles aren't small. Even the Vamp is it's about the size of this laptop that I'm on right now. I mean, that is rapidly consuming space in my very small room. But I will say this, it kind of really caused me to focus. Like, I used to also collect Transformers, but that's kind of becoming it's showing me what I really love, because it's like what I play with G.I. Joe. I don't really play too much with the Transformers because it takes so long to into the vehicle form, right? So it really is kind of streamlined, which I like that. I like things in life that carve out the unnecessary. It's the things that make us more efficient.
That's a segue into a question. I mean, we all do Joe to different degrees, but what other toy lines do you guys do, or is it just straight Joe now? Because I've got a lot of rabbit holes.
Me? No, I feel like I've been talking a lot. For early in the morning, I'm very hypo.
So I was, besides Joe, I was doing Star Wars Vintage Collection for a while, but now I'm kind of at a stopping point with that. And then I've done almost all the O-ring Kickstarters. I went all in on Call Sign Lombo. I did a little cherry picking on Recall.
Me too.
I've done Legends of the Hidden Force.
Me too.
And then Marauder, my toxic collector trade is that I'll watch a TV show or a movie and then say, hey, I can make a figure out of that, and then go to Marauder and then buy the parts and make a figure. But I'm usually pretty and I usually go all in on the Marauder, the geared up events they have.
So Zazel.
But I'm pretty much 118. I finally, last year I kind of had to draw the line in the sand, and if I hadn't been able to save so much of my vintage stuff, then I probably would be 6-inch all the way. But
my scale, as I always say, 118 scale is my scale because I did so much Joe and still do Joe. I mean, that's my favorite. The O-rings, number one. I like the modern figures, the 4-inch. And it's 118 scale. I love these Dime Novel Legend figures. Picked up some of the stuff on it.
Yeah, okay. All right. I forgot to mention those.
Yeah.
But
they're so good.
So yeah, so I bought quite a few of the gunslinger figures. You know, they end up giving you the head where you can make it look like the man with no name.
Yep.
But then I realized that Marauder heads will fit on those too.
They will, yes.
So I bought the trooper head with the black hair that looks kind of like me. So now I'm my own version of the man with no name.
I mean, they're so customizable. That's one of the great things about these figures, and they do match well with Marauders, which is I'll probably get some Marauders today because they're at the show.
So interesting. My first Marauder experience with the actual figure. Like I've bought a dog. That's all I bought because I was trying to replace one of the dogs. And I bought guns. But Matt was like, you have to get a figure. And I was like, I don't really, and he's like, buy a figure. All right. So I went and it's like, it's $25 for a build your own figure. Do it. It's a deal. And the salesman who was behind the Marauder thing was like, it is a deal. Do it. Well, all right. So I went and I bid, and now I have like 3 of them. And now I want more of them because they're really, really good. They are amazing.
Yeah, it's addictive.
Especially, I started when I started getting Marauder figures, I went and said, all right, I want to redo the 82 Joes how I would see them. Mm-hmm. So that's why I made all my 82 Joes. And Scarlett does not have a crossbow because I think the crossbow's crap. She is a sniper for me. And it was so fun to do. And I'm getting ready to start doing the 83 soon. So I will be buying more Marauders.
Yeah. And the Joe figures that they do are
amazing. Fantastic.
So like, I don't think I'll ever buy an actual 86 O-ring low light because the one that they have is just, I mean, he's so much better than the modern version too. Like I don't need that. It's just, I guess when I start doing photography, I'm gonna have to just like make sure I just have like all modern in one photo, not mix O-ring and modern. We'll see.
The prioritization.
If you do mix them, you gotta space them like Lord of the Rings, the little guy. Make them look.
Yeah.
The prioritization of articulation and posability in the Marauder figures, like I like that they made sure that they can move. That's something that just seems so obvious, but like no knock at Hasbro, but they didn't do it because there are some figures that can't get their arm to a right angle, and I've had to go in with a knife and fix that. So I kind of feel like Marauder made them very, very playable, and I like that. That's my that tickles me in all the right ways, and that's unfortunate because those figures, now that I've priced a few since Joe Fest, and they can run you kind of a bit, so I have to be careful, Of course, putting together the few that I have, I've realized like you should use glue, but I use glue like an idiot. I build miniatures. I should know that you don't have to be ridiculous with glue. So of course I clump it on like some kind of child. So now of course the OCD in me is like, well, just buy more parts and buy a new figure and rebuild it again. And I'm like, shut up! You're gonna make me poor. It's just...
Yeah.
I picked up the Tunnel Rat that Marauders had. It is amazing.
Yeah.
You mean Hans, right? Because Hans is Tunnel Rat. Let's be honest with ourselves.
Sorry, I picked up the Hans figure that they had.
I also picked up a me figure, because I like Tunnel Rat, but
good character. And that figure
I'm gonna have to find a picture of Renegade's Tunnel Rat, and I'm gonna make that Hans's avatar in my contacts.
I think that's a good figure.
Yeah.
The Renegade Tunnel Rat is a nice figure, but I mean Marauders. I mean, I always knew that they were good. Everybody always spoke very fondly of them, but I knew that it was gonna be. I can't call it anything but an addiction, so I kind of need to, But
Yeah, that's a good idea.
Yes, you are, Campbell. Yes, you are.
Yes.
And you're quite good at it, if I do say so myself.
But toy collecting though, other than Joe, Matt, you collect anything else? I know that you, and besides those things.
No, just yeah, like I said, I'm at a stopping point with the Star Wars vintage collection. That's not to say that I won't pick up a figure here and there, but I'm not like I need everything. Now, like if I look at my buying over the past 6 months, like it's probably all of it's been Marauder. Oh, and then Black Major. We ought to be on a first name basis by now. There's like very few people on Instagram who I have the notifications set. Like I want to see everything, but I do that for him because, you know, by the time I see something, sometimes everybody's already claimed everything.
Have you seen the new figures that he's getting ready to draw?
The space figures?
No, it's a it's different takes on Firefly.
Oh yeah, yeah. Well, he's got like so many going on. It's hard.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. I'm still waiting on. I guess we're supposed to get those Cobra Commander variants. Next month, maybe it might be September. I don't know, but
I think this winter he's got a Battle Damage Snake Eyes coming out.
Yeah, there's some other Commando figures. They look like a mishmash of Shockwave, maybe Lowlight. I don't know.
As we're kind of here, and I've always been too shy to ask. I don't know what Black Major is. I've heard about it all the time, but what is it? It's just
it.
I mean, I know what they are, but it's what's the concept behind it, Matt? Because you're in it.
It's very mysterious. It's like a cult almost.
With a booth. I mean, anyways, this is
no, because I don't think he goes to Joe Fest because, you know, actually Ken would probably know a lot more about this because I remember him talking to me about it. Was it last year at Joe Fest? Because he gave me an Alley Viper and a Crimson Guard because he knew I didn't have any Alley Vipers, and I swear that Alley Viper's almost as good as the original.
So the third party G.I. Joe reproduction.
Yeah. So somehow he was at Joe Con one year. Okay. That's kind of dangerous. Talk about yeah, he got his hands on the mold somehow. And I mean, I'll go on the record saying this. Not that long ago, he made some Mickey Mouse Cobra logo troopers and officers. And not only were they cheaper than the O-ring officers and troopers that Hasbro made a couple years ago, but they're way better.
Oh,
it's like all the Cobra officers that Hasbro made. So I think I bought like 3 sets of those. Every single one of the Cobra officers, like one of the legs is like completely bow-legged.
Yep.
It's almost like they all had rickets when they were children. I don't know, but they look pretty bad. And I actually took a picture of the both of them side by side. You know, the officer, his officer versus the Hasbro officer, and the trooper versus the trooper. And I'm like, these are so much better. So, that's where the name comes from, Ronnie. Yeah, from one of the Action Force figures. But yeah,
if there's someone out there who's willing to do reasonably priced reproduction, especially for what Ken has just said there of troop building stuff, because as a man who was hunting Vipers this past Joe Fest, if you're willing to give me Vipers at a reasonable cost, I will back you. I will support you in your endeavors. Because I mean, $60 a Viper, $30 a Viper, whatever it was, is making troop building very difficult. So I mean, if you want to make it affordable to the third third world GI Joe collector, I will support your endeavor. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, honestly, like I've never been disappointed with anything that he sent me.
So your Vipers ons, did they come with buckets and squeegees?
Hands aren't coming out up there, but anyway.
I guess as far as collecting go, I mean, Joe's my number one, but I'm big into Motu. And I told myself I'll just do the Origins, but it slipped into Masterverse. I'm like, well, Masterverse is cool. You know, these two are fine. And I got some vintage. And I discovered the classics are so cool. And the 2000X. So there's like 5 lines of Motu I'm getting. And it's insane.
Yeah, we're really spoiled for choice right now. So, you know, yeah. It's hard. You know, I said this last year when I did, I was on one of Ken's live streams. It's really making you focus on what you really, really, really want.
Yeah.
You know, because for me, you know, that's when I decided, all right, I can't do both.
Right.
112 and you know, O-ring and 118. I've got to pick a side.
So what I do if I find that I did this with Black Series and the vintage collection is and classified, I did it with classified too. If I'm not getting that joy from it, I'll take the figures, box them away, put them in a closet. And if I don't have any desire to get those out in 6 months, I know I'm good to move them on. Somebody else can enjoy them. So that's what I did. And I'm pretty happy with it because it gave me back a lot more space that I can put new stuff in that does bring me joy.
Marie Kondo is very happy with you right now. You know who that is, right?
Who?
Marie Kondo. The KonMari.
Did you get Joe figure?
No. She's like this she's like this Japanese organizational whiz that like that's her thing. Like if you have something in your house and it no longer sparks joy, then you should get rid of it.
Don't tell my wife that.
Whoa.
That's what I'm saying, Aaron, is if it's not bringing me joy, I stop buying and I put it up. Exactly. And if I don't get that pull for it to want to go out and buy the new stuff and you know enjoy it again, then I just move it on and I do what what does bring me joy.
Yeah. And I think that's an evolving process too. I think it's not something that's static. It's not something where you get to a point and you're like, yeah, okay. Because there's some things that, you know, you may have been interested in at one time, but you're no longer interested in.
What is behave? This is going like don't do this.
I'm not saying that, Campbell.
Wow, this show deteriorated rapidly.
But Eric, what do you collect aside from Joe?
Well, Casey's got me dragging me kicking and screaming into Motu. And let me see, the Marauders definitely. And I picked up my very first Dime Novel Legend this past Joe Fest. I got the Black Snake figure, which is Western Snake Eyes.
Yeah.
And
it's a great figure.
It is. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Other than that, I like minifigs from Legos. For a few years now, I've been trying to put the Justice Society together, and it's not going well.
Okay. I need to amend my earlier statement.
I didn't want to say anything.
I actually have like two scales because I lump O-ring, 3 3/4 O-ring and 118 together, but then I also have Lego. So, and that comes in spurts and fits. So,
I like Action Force, Action Force, the Valaverse stuff. I don't have much of it. I got the same problem with it as I do classified. I don't have the room.
Yeah.
So I'm switching to the Lord scale, 3 3/4. But I also like Hellboy stuff. So anytime they come out with Hellboy stuff, I'm like, ooh, I got to get that.
Yeah, if Crash is watching this, he's going to disagree with you and say that the Lord scale is actually 112.
Well, Crash can be wrong. It's okay.
Yeah.
He's still cool. I mean, let's talk Delta 17. I mean, that as soon as I got those figures in hand, that's when I just stopped looking at my classifieds, because it was bringing me back to being 10 years old again.
Yep.
With my Joes, and that made the whole transition to 118 so much easier, because I had that great replacement for it.
Between that and the O-ring Skeleton figures, that's what jump started me. That and Black Major. It's hard for me to paint up Vintage Joe to do it back, but Black Major, I'll paint them all day.
The O-ring stuff that's coming out right now, the modern O-ring stuff, I don't know if that's the right terminology for it, but I mean, I'm really quite impressed. At Joe Fest, I sat at a panel with Matt for Operation Recall, and to commit to that financially right now is a bad idea, but I know that's the thing that I'm gonna do, because I really like a lot of what they're putting out. The designs are really nice. And the same can be said for like everything that I've seen that's coming out O-ring styled. I mean, as I said, the only one that I physically have in my hand that is of modern make is, of course, the Delta 17. But if they're at least as good as that, then,
yeah,
we have a bright future ahead as 118 scale collectors, even if it's not G.I. Joe. It's very G.I. Joe-esque. But I hope that, Delta 17 fixes that T-hook issue, because as much as I love taking apart action figures and flipping T-hooks.
Yeah, but the other thing about Recall is, like, they're building a whole mythology around it too that I had no idea, because I just haven't been keeping up with all their updates on the Kickstarter and everything. But I mean, I guess it wasn't until, Hans, you and I went to that panel that I realized what they were doing.
Yeah.
Because at first it just seemed like it was like, oh, let's get people to design their own Joes, and like we'll call it Recall because we're bringing back, all the original designers and artists to help out with it. Which, I mean, that's a great concept in and of itself. But yeah, I had no idea what they had planned for it. That panel.
A good lore can sell stuff better than well-designed figures. Like, so I think Big Bad Toy Store, I don't know who it is. There's another group that's with them. They're doing Monster Force, right?
Oh,
yeah.
The one thing the one thing I see in Monster Force all the time is the Forgotten King, right? And I'm a big H.P. Lovecraft fan, so to me, that's Hastur, that's the King in Yellow that I keep seeing, and I'm like, I don't care about the rest of this. I'm gonna get that figure. But of course, when you do that, you go and you read a little bit of the mythology, and I'm like, oh well, I'm gonna get a bunch of these. And then your wife steps in and she hits you with something, usually soft enough you survive, but hard enough that it reminds you that you have children and a mortgage and things like that. So at least one, I'll get the King in yellow, but the rest of it. But it's amazing how a good book can really kind of just suck you in, and I like that. And Carson has managed to do that quite effectively. And, cheers to him for doing that. And cheers to Delta 17 for doing that as well, because they've written a very, very effective comic book. It's a fantastic action-packed introduction to the world, Yes, there you go. The word is ecosystem. Yeah. Teach the children how to play with the things, you know what I mean? And my kids love Delta 17 stuff, but funny enough, I haven't thrown them against the wall yet. I'm a little bit thing with it, but I feel like they're going to break, but I'm not sure.
I don't want to see that. You do that on your own time, please.
Right. Yeah, I don't need to see that.
So Hans,
I'm really hoping that with all these companies that we just mentioned, like the small companies that are doing the O-rings and the 118 figures, I hope we're getting back to a point where they're not just focused on. They're more focused on the lore and the product, and I think if we make a good lore, a compelling lore, and good figures, that's what's going to bring us financial success. Right. Where I feel like so many of the big companies right now are just pushing out a bunch of stuff that's low effort and there's no heart in it. You know what I mean? But I feel like like Hans and I, like we talked to Doug Hart. How long did we talk to Doug Hart? Like half an hour?
Yeah. At least.
Yeah, something like that. And, just like the passion that came out of that guy, not only for doing some of this artwork that he did, but some of the other stuff that he does. Yeah, that probably wasn't covered by the consumer protection group or whatever either. So, yeah, but no, talking to a lot of these older, the older artists like Doug Hart, like we talked to, but then talking to some of these other guys like Chris Scott from like Grindhouse, it's like I know he put he puts his heart and soul into all those figures. I think like the Dread Trooper that he made last year, that was probably like my favorite figure. And then like the Necromancer this year, I'm like, that's just so. I know it was inspired by Skeletor, but there's still a lot of there's still a lot of that that 50s pulp sci-fi mixed in there with just like the way the jetpacks are and the helmets and all that stuff. It's
looks like a King
that's the kind of stuff that I want. That's the kind of stuff I want to support.
Looks like a King straight off Flash Gordon.
Yeah.
Or Buck Rogers.
Yeah.
The trend that we're seeing now with a lot of legacy brands, with the exception of one, and I'll talk about them in a second, is that they're relying on older collectors like us who have grown up with it to kind of pass the law on, rather than kind of creating the law, pushing it. The one exception to this, in my honest opinion, is Masters of the Universe. They've released several cartoons. They've released several things. They've tried to bring in new fans. My children got into the Netflix He-Man. They loved it, and I loved it. It was very well done. It was respectful, and that's one thing I really have to say about Motu. They have managed to keep their brand very respectful, and that's so important because a lot of other brands aren't particularly respectful with their legacy material. Children are very good litmus tests for quality. If it's not interesting and if it's not gripping, they don't like it. You can't sell them something cheap. You can trick a child with like Paw Patrol, right? But as the Paw Patrol fans get older, they're going to want more, and you're going to have to produce more. If you only keep doing the same thing over and over, you're not going to get that kind of traction with them. And we see that with Motu. And I like that with Motu. Very well done. And we've seen Hasbro try it a few times, and they've not been very effective, at least in my opinion. The reinvention of Transformers turning Optimus Prime, he was kind of mean. And I don't know if kids really like that because, he's enough of a legacy character throughout time where kids kind of expected him to be a little bit gentler, let's go with. And the same can be said with G.I. Joe. They relaunch it and they're trying to make it more superhero-y, more ninja-y, more these kinds of things. But it feels like a lie because the name doesn't match. If they just embrace what it is, because my kids liked Renegades. Yeah, they love Renegades. Yeah, they did. I forced them to watch it because it's my prerogative to do so, But they like it. They stick to it. But it's almost like a lot of companies are scared of what their brands were, but what they were was great. So just continue being great. I mean,
G.I. Joe needs a modern, updated cartoon like Motu did on Netflix. They need that, maybe on Prime, maybe on Netflix. I don't care. But, even go to classified look if you want. Because, like I said, I don't think classified's bad. It's just not my scale.
It wouldn't even hurt for Joe to have just a complete revamp. New team leaders and stuff like that.
I can't remember who it was, but someone on Instagram posted a bunch of Action Force stuff, like tons of reinvents of classic G.I. Joe characters in Action Force. So, and Gaz and I were speaking about this once, where instead of G.I. Joe being like military, they could actually do adventure stuff, and that would still be respectful, because a lot of G.I. Joe stuff back in the sub era was really more action oriented, adventure oriented anyway. But I mean, there's a way to do it. But you have to embrace a few things, and they don't seem to be willing to embrace those things. And I don't fault anybody. I can't say, oh, it's Hasbro. No, Hasbro is like tens of thousands of people in production and whatnot. And they do release really good. They do release really good action figures, and there are a lot of good designers and stuff working there. So I mean, one day they'll get it. I just hope that we're around to see it so we can be like, oh, this is what we've waited for so long in the media. But whatever. They're doing very well with the comics, though, so I'm hearing.
Yes.
So thumbs up there.
Hey, Chris, I hope your wife's all right.
Yeah.
Me too. That's the goat.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, that's more important than watching us.
Yeah. No need to apologize.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have a hard cutoff time of in 1 minute.
In about
5 seconds.
About 2 minutes, we're gonna roll because I got to get down there to the show. And I just want to take this time and thank both of you for coming on.
Yeah.
Welcome on.
This has been a pleasure for me. Like I said, I love spending time with you guys. Everybody in the chat, thank you so much for being active. It really makes this fun. And I imagine it's probably a little better if I prepare better for it. But I'm like, you know what? Hans and Matthew, they'll talk.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, we've come to the end and I've not been able to tell any funny Han stories.
Thank God.
So you have to have us back on.
Hey,
you
guys,
he needs to be
open invitation.
Present. He needs to be able to face his accuser.
Yeah, you guys have an open invitation anytime. It's so much fun having.
I know a funny Han story, and Matthew's in it.
What?
It's Joker.
Oh yeah.
Hans is sitting in front of me.
Poor Hans. You gotta let me give some background. So he called me at I think it was 4:45 on Friday. And I'm thinking he's calling me saying, hey, I'm here, where are you? But he calls me and I have no problem understanding Hans most of the time. But when Hans is is nervous or frustrated, he turns the Trini up to 11. Okay. So I'm at the after action report table talking to those guys, and my phone rings and it's WhatsApp and it's Hans. And I'm just I'm thinking, oh, he's gonna say hey, I'm here, where are you? And there's a lot of background noise, and I'm only hearing half of what he's saying. And I'm hearing Ramada but I need to go to the Hyatt. And then like his whole situation of like, you know, he already doesn't like flying as it is. So that's like, I get that. I'm not like the biggest fan myself. Okay. But it's like to go through that and then to go to the hotel, which look, he was telling me looked like it belonged on an episode of CSI. And then we were having some issues checking in at the Hyatt. I understand why he was a little out of sorts the whole weekend. But yeah, no, I told last year he didn't have cell coverage or anything. So we were kind of disjointed in planning what we were going to do and everything. This year, he's like, you know, I'm going to stick to you like glue. And I said, okay. I said, you know, Audible Interlude, they're doing their meetup at 9. I'm like, we're going to that. Okay.
It's fun.
He stole the show. Like Eric, like I had already met you the night before at the pool party.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, yeah, you sat there behind us and like you start talking and then he's like, Hans looks at me and he's like, that's Hillbilly Harper. I'm like, yes, Hans, I know it is.
It didn't click. Sometimes it just doesn't click because once again, and I've said this a million times, I see you all like this on the screen, but when I actually, you know, see you in person with like width and dimension and height, it's like.
Also, you're saying I'm fat.
That's not what I said. I said width and dimension and height. You heard fat. I didn't say that.
You said girth.
Width. I said width. I didn't say girth. You're putting. Listen, my accent's not that bad, you know. But I like meeting all of you guys, and I wish I got to spend more time with you in non-G.I. Joe environments, you know, running and jumping and climbing trees and, you know, the things that boys do, you know. But
yeah,
you'll find I'm more than just a weirdo. I'm a very fun man, you know.
Yeah, I'll save my other story for the next time we're on.
And next year we'll make more stories. It's because, like, as I said, you know, we only.
No, Hans, this will be about the Christmas present.
Oh God!
All right. I will tell you guys one thing. Like there's people that say they have the photographic memory. Like I have the photographic memory. Okay, my brain is like an end-to-end tape. Okay, you tell me something, it gets stuck there forever.
This has been a great show, Casey, and the show.
Hans, I'm not going to tell the story now, but you know, I will next time. No, I won't tell that story.
No, tell it. The world needs to know.
No, that's just a cautionary tale. Be careful what you say around me because it may come back to you.
Well, we'll have you guys back on and we'll talk about it.
Yeah. You got me curious now.
Thank you everybody for watching.
Yeah.
We appreciate it. And thank you, Hans, Matthew.
Yes. This has been awesome.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you. Goodbye, everybody.
Thank you.